Do you ever feel like your conversations are full of miscommunication, even when you're both trying your best? In today's episode, we are sharing 3 clarifying questions you can use in any relationship to improve your communication, deepen your connection, and minimize misunderstandings. Let's start with a review of the week. Congratulations, Becca FF. You made it to the podcast. Becca says these episodes are relatable and have great info you can start using immediately to improve communication in all aspects of your life. Thank you, Becca FF. Follow and direct messages on Communication Skills for Women. Like the show, leave a review, and share with a friend. We would love to read your reviews on the show.
Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real-life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together.
We've been in situations where we thought we understood exactly what someone was saying, only to later realize that we completely missed the mark. And sometimes all it would have taken was one simple question to clear up that confusion. We've both had our share of frustrating conversations, especially with people we really care about, people that we work with and care about, people that we live with and care about. So today we want to share how asking clarifying questions has been a game changer for us and how it can help you too.
So I'm going to start with a story. This is actually in my professional life, and this is a little bit different because this doesn't necessarily relate to meetings with colleagues. This actually relates to my professional life in the sense that I was in a session with a client, and um, she was explaining a story, and my mind got ahead of me, which I don't think is uncommon as therapists. We're trying to remain present, right? We're doing so many things at once. We're remaining present, we're listening, we're engaging, we're also focusing on clients presenting concerns, where we need to go next. There's like 10,000 things that are going on in the room at once. And so my mind got a little ahead of me, and I was operating from a place of assumption. I wasn't really listening. And so because I wasn't engaged in the ways that maybe would have been helpful, a lot of where our session went was a place of frustration for both of us. I wasn't understanding what she was saying, and she was frustrated with me because I wasn't understanding, and I could tell. And again, it wasn't intentional by any means, but I didn't stop to ask clarifying questions. I was working from a place of assumption. And as you might guess, it only made things worse throughout the session. Probably one of the worst sessions that I've had. This was many years ago. Thank goodness in the beginning of my career. And I don't necessarily, I'm not that terrible anymore. I'll say that. So this whole thing could have been resolved if I had just asked some clarifying questions. So definitely a lesson learned. And I guess we just want to share, some of that lesson with you. If I had asked, the clarifying questions, what turned out to be a major frustration could have turned around really quickly. And so here's what we're going to share with you.
Before we hop into kind of the tactical training stuff, I want to just talk about how our our intention is never, I would say this for everybody, like no one's intention is ever to not be present, right? Or to not engage or to not give someone else in a professional setting, especially to not give someone what they need. We're not trying to hold back and we're not trying to assume. These things sometimes just happen because asking clarifying questions is a skill that needs to be developed and worked on.
For sure.
And a lot of times, our assumptions, you said, I made assumptions. We make assumptions because we've all experienced life and we are trying to understand one another and we have other concerns and we're trying to move things forward. And so I think it's important to recognize if you're on the receiving end of someone not understanding you, that chances are they are doing their best. And if you are on the end of not understanding, give yourself a little bit of grace and recognize that you're doing your best and you just need to reset.
I like that you said that about assumptions because I think another point to make is that we're human. Our brains work off of assumptions there, and assumptions I think maybe I used it in a negative way, and that's not necessarily what I was trying to say. We work off of assumptions because this is how our brain works, how we organize our world, how we make sense of the world, how we carry a conversation, right? And so these are automatic processes that occur. And so you're absolutely right in saying that like this skilled part of us needs to learn how to clarify.
Completely. And our brain makes assumptions. And then there's, oh my gosh, we have so many episodes that can just come out of this one right here. I keep thinking about the power of definitions, how just not understanding when one person is saying a word that we're like, oh, I know exactly what they mean. We sometimes don't exactly know what people mean.
Yep.
And so we make assumptions over even that we think we are understanding words and we aren't. And so definitions is going to have to be a whole different episode that I'm actually excited
Yeah.
about doing.
We need an episode on definitions and assumptions.
I think it would be fascinating for you and I to talk to have definitions. You guys send us words that you
Yes.
would like us to define
Yeah.
and to see what Rosemary and I have for definitions. We have drastically different lifestyles, drastically different living environments. We live in different parts of the country. We've had
Yes.
very different upbringings.
Yeah. Oh,
It
that's a
would
good idea.
it would be so interesting to really dive into definitions. So,
Oh, child. Good job. I like that.
anyway, well, today though,
We
we are
digress.
talking about asking clarifying questions, and we're going to focus on three clarifying questions that we are going to talk about. So, one is say more about that, or tell me more. We know tell me more is a statement, not a question, but it does the job. The second one is could you help me understand what is important to you? And the third one that we will dive into is what does support look like for you? Now, these three questions might just seem kind of simple or maybe not even very necessary at times, but I'm telling you, these three questions, they will prevent misunderstanding. They will help you feel closer and more connected to other people. It will open up dialogue between you and the other individual. And then it helps you come to resolutions as you are dealing with maybe a misunderstanding or a conflict. So these things will, these questions have the ability to begin to bring some of these deeper connections into your life.
So I use say more about that or tell me more. I use that frequently. Anyone who knows me or has interacted with me knows that I'll say something like, "Oh, that's really interesting. Say more about that," or "Tell me a little bit more about that," right? And this is me just trying to get an understanding of what's happening. Sometimes I use this when I feel like maybe someone's holding something back, or maybe from my perspective, they're being vague, right? So they may not feel that they're being vague, but from my perspective, I'm having a really hard time understanding because maybe I feel like there's some vagueness in that interaction. And so I use this frequently. And I think it's really inviting actually when you ask someone to say more about what maybe might be frustrated with or when they're trying to explain something. So let's just say, for example, someone says, I'm not happy with how things are going at work. Instead of assuming what they mean or jumping to conclusions, you can ask, can you say more about that? I've had this experience when I'm in a team meeting and someone walks out of the team meeting alongside me and they may be talking about a completely different experience than I had in that team meeting. And there isn't anything wrong with that by any means. It does feel a little confusing to me sometimes. And so I will use this question like, oh, tell me more about what you experienced in that meeting, and I don't even need to necessarily say I didn't experience that. I just want to understand where they're coming from. And so instead of working off of that assumption that we were both in the same meeting, because clearly we weren't, just asking that question can open up the door for someone to share specific concerns, which allows me to understand their perspective and respond in a way that might be a little bit more thoughtful or intentional or even just empathetic. So, question number one, or I guess phrase number one, say more about that or tell me more.
One thing that I was thinking about as you were sharing some of your examples is I've been in meetings or been working with a team and someone has asked me to do something or tasked me to do something. And I'll say, okay. And I don't fully understand what they are expecting of me. And this phrase in that situation, I actually hadn't thought about using it in that situation
Yeah,
to respond with, can you say more about that?
yeah,
And so it doesn't even have to be when we're having like an a different emotional response than somebody. It can be used in a very tactical way of, I've just been given a task that needs to be completed in a week, or I need to respond to an email, but I'm not fully understanding what they want. And just saying, tell me more. That will help clarify what I need to do.
perfect.
So, the next question we want to dive into is, could you help me understand why that's important to you? Okay, said
Mm,
that really slowly. Could you help me understand why that's important to you? Or why is that important to you? So, you want to use this when you sense there's a difference in values or priorities. So, when I am working, it's not just with work. It's in my family. This is in all aspects of my life. My timeline is usually faster than most other people's timelines. And some people, when I work with them, I would say Rosemary and we can very much get on the same timeline and
mhm.
move through something kind of at the same rate. I have another sister that when we're working on something together, we just move along. Another sister. Like, you're not my sister, but a
No,
sister. I actually do have quite a few sisters, so just one of them. Anyway, then when I'm working with someone who moves a little bit slower, there may be some really good reasons around the difference in pace of movement, right? So instead of saying that timeline's unrealistic, or why aren't they moving along the same time as me, or the same rate as I am, or feeling frustrated or feeling held back, I could ask, could you help me understand why that's important to you? Or can you help me understand why the timeline needs to be different for you? And when I have done this, the insights are extremely powerful.
mm,
They will say often there's something going on in their personal life that doesn't allow them to move as quickly. Or most of the time, it's because they have a different creative process that they want to spend more time on,
yeah.
or they need time to think and process it and they feel rushed. And so my rushed energy almost puts them in a panic
Yeah.
instead of moving them along.
And that could be stifling or crippling sometimes, when you feel like you're being rushed. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so when you ask, can you help me understand why this is important to you? You're also putting yourself in a spot of saying, hey, I want to collaborate on this with you. So if I can understand why it's important to you, then I'm going to then we can work on this in a more productive way.
Yeah. Yeah. I am really appreciating how you're explaining that and just the connection that you feel with someone else when someone asks you a question like that and you feel like you can be heard, because I think that's essentially what you're doing is trying to hear and listen from someone else's point of view. I appreciate that. Another question that I've asked, or I guess question number three would be, what does support look like for you right now? For me, because of my personality, I will often ask, how can I support you? Or what can I do to support you right now? Right. So anything along those lines. And this is a really great question to ask when you want to ensure that you're being helpful, especially in a tense or emotionally charged situation. And quite frankly, there are times when a friend or an acquaintance might say something that is really heavy and
Mhm.
I'm off the clock. Uh, I'm off the clock, but I also want to be supportive and helpful. And sometimes I don't even know what to say or how to support them. And there are other ways that you can kind of navigate that situation. But I will often ask, like, basically, how can I support you right now? So even thinking about a close friend who's venting about a difficult personal issue, or a coworker who might be venting about a difficult work issue, right? And you want to be supportive instead of jumping in with that advice or trying to fix things right away, just asking, like, how can I support you right now? And it allows them to tell you if they need a sounding board, if they need comfort, if they need practical help, logistical help, right? And so again, you're stepping away from those assumptions, and maybe they don't even need your support, right?
Yeah.
But you're allowing someone to kind of speak for themselves, but tell you what it is that they need. I actually really appreciate that question. I appreciate receiving that question when someone says that. Oftentimes I will stop and think, like, what do I need right now? And sometimes I don't know. And sometimes I will say, I don't know what I need right now, but thank you for just being here, right? That's enough. That's enough. So yeah.
This question is so powerful, and I appreciate that you brought up asking it and receiving it. I feel like this question is used often,
Mhm.
but when you said that it provides a pause for you, I really think that's where the power comes in this question.
Yeah.
In professional settings and personal settings alike, when you ask someone that question, there it is almost always met with a pause, which
Yeah.
allows people to get grounded and really allows them to answer in an authentic way instead of just, "Oh, I'm fine," or "It's okay."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we've given you 3 clarifying questions that we hope you can focus on this week. So your homework is to try to use just pick one of these questions and use it with a partner, a friend, a colleague, a child. Notice how it shifts the conversation. So these questions again are, can you tell me more? Or tell me more, the statement. Excuse me, could you help me understand why that's important to you? And what does support look like for you? We would love for you to share your experiences with us. How did it change the dynamic of your conversation when you asked one of these clarifying questions?
Now I know y'all are listening because I've asked some of you to listen. So so please go, leave us a question, leave us a comment. Let us know how this is working for you. And maybe what we could expand on, or maybe a different direction that might be a little bit helpful. Also, I love this idea, Elizabeth, of sending us maybe words that you've experienced in the past that have different meanings to different people.
Mhm.
It would be great for us to just even do that live and kind of define what terms mean for us, and how our backgrounds and our experiences and our personalities impact those. So remember, communication at the end of the day is key, and asking the right clarifying questions can transform your relationships. We hope these 3 questions help you to better understand and connect with the people who matter most to you. If you found this episode helpful, please be sure to share it with someone who could benefit. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support means so much to us. Until next time, speak clearly, listen bravely. When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.